Hello and welcome to PPC Live The Podcast. I'm your host, Anu, the founder of PPC Live. And if you're used to hearing advice from PPC experts about how to ensure that we are keeping up with the ever-changing landscape, don't worry, you're still in the right place. But instead of relaying what the PPC experts are saying, I'm bringing the PPC experts to you. Every week, I'm bringing a different PPC expert about their biggest F-up, but also how they turn things around. We never leave things on a defeated note. And yeah, we'll be sharing what has been disappointing, who was the person that really helped us out, who discovered the error, because that's always it can be a bit of a biggie. So let's get straight into our topic now. Without further ado, what is the F-up you want to share with us today?
It's roughly 4 months ago, an existing client of mine acquired a company. It's a client that is in the airport parking services, and they took over another company, which was already running a small Google Ads account. And my client, they basically wanted us to manage the account of the new company as well.
Yeah.
But they basically didn't want to pay extra money for it. So we were like, sure, if we can include it in our current agreement, but we'll see what we can do. So we took on the account, but basically decided to migrate it slowly to our existing setup for the account that was already running. So the new account, we sort of left it on its own and we didn't pay that much attention to it. The client agreed that we slowly migrated it to a new setup. And then after 6 weeks, we suddenly noticed that for some reason, the number of clicks went down dramatically. And also conversions went down. We didn't know what was happening. So of course we went into the account, we started looking at the data, and we noticed that a few days prior, conversions dropped to zero. We're like, to zero? What happened? The client didn't call us, as in there were still bookings, reservations for these parking spots were still being made. The website was doing fine. We tested conversion tracking with the Google Tag Manager and the preview. The tags were being fired. Data was sent correctly to Google. We didn't understand what was happening, but Google reported zero conversions. And then I decided to have a look at all the emails Google was sending to the inbox of that Google Ads account. And there was an email stating that the consent management platform wasn't implemented correctly. And if we didn't take action, they would stop allowing conversion tracking for this domain. And that is actually what happened. So we were very ignorant. We didn't read the emails from Google, and we were relatively slow in responding to the issue. Yeah. So the end result was that because of conversions weren't being tracked anymore, Google's smart bidding algorithms thought, okay, I'm buying clicks. They're not converting. We're not meeting our target. So let's reduce the CPC bids, right? So slowly the traffic has been decreasing. Conversions were still there. They just weren't being recorded. And so smart bidding just, they scaled down the campaigns to almost nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was not good.
It's something that at the time I thought I was doing the right thing, which was that we were in a situation where the creative team had decided to run creative that really was not compatible with Google Ads. It was a gym, a fitness wellness, a fitness center gym, and they were using a campaign. What they were trying to promote was really just bodybuilding and just they had some creative that was not suitable for, it was not family safe, right? And I mean, it wasn't a big deal. It was you wouldn't necessarily look at it and say, oh, that's pornography. But Google was saying, we're not going to run this because, it's exposing too much skin or whatever. And it was just kind of people were a little glossy and oiled up and whatever. And they just didn't like it. It didn't look like gym to them. So we kept on not being able to run the creative. And so this, is a continued problem throughout the campaign. And so we'd be pushing back, for the client. But then the person who was our point of contact was a very, very junior person and just did not have the ability to manage or to negotiate that situation. And so he'd be like, well, the creative team likes it, so run it. It's like, okay, but we can't. So one time we all had this big hands-on where we're talking with the CEO, the C-suite, the leadership team, and everyone was there, and we were doing our report about here's what's going on. And these are the people where you have to say, here's what paid search even means, right? Because they don't know. They're like, well, what's the difference between that and SEO? So everyone, the higher ups are all there. And so I'm like, I'm going to make my case about why we can't have this creative running anymore. And I did, I was able to convince, to get the attention of the leadership team of this is not appropriate. We need to rethink this strategy because doesn't work on Google.
Mm.
So I thought, okay, I did what I needed to do. But what actually happened is that the other team that was like producing all this creative, they did not share that opinion that was the right thing. They felt like I really threw them under the bus. They went and talked with my manager afterwards, and and had this special meeting and was saying how I was inappropriate. And it didn't I didn't get in trouble with my company, but I
Yeah.
did absolutely this was a team that I would have liked to continue to work with. They were good people, and I kind of burned that bridge with them that they didn't like the way I handled it. And so it was not the right approach.
I was on a client that was a gaming developer in the UK, pretty big name, and they had this one title, and the budget for it per month was, I think it was about 20K a month.
Mm.
And I realized on the first day of the next month that I'd overspent by £2,000.
We had this one software as a sale, B2B
software as a
client.
service.
Wonderful. Yeah, as a service client back then. They were very high spending account and had some pretty aggressive goals, and they were niche, right? And so they really had this one competitor that they were hyper focused on in terms of their ability to grow their business. And so my client said, I really want to get in front of those people that are also searching for our competitor who are sort of in the prospect mode for that. And he's like, I want to reach as many people as possible. So I had this brilliant idea. Well, let's do a competitor conquest campaign in search, and let's make it broad match to capture as much impression share as possible. Thinking, oh, this is going to be great. He wants to go aggressive on this. Let's do this. But we did not add the anticipatory negative keywords that we should have ended in the end, and I'll get to that in a moment. So we launched this campaign, very, very high spending daily budget. And on Monday morning, I get a voicemail, email from the client's contact call center team, and they said, why are we all of a sudden getting tons of phone calls from angry people who want tech support and want to know their login information, to want to have a refund, but it's not for our service, it's for our biggest competitor. Why are we doing this? And my heart sank.
Oh Lord.
And I said, okay, let me check out what's going on in the campaign. And we did our search terms report, and quickly realized we had spent over the course of a weekend thousands and thousands of dollars on searches for competitor name, customer service number, competitor name, refund policy, what you name it, in those types of genre, we were bringing in the traffic. So I had to call the client and explain what happened. I was so nervous. We were getting tons of phone calls from my competitors' clients, and they were angry about the service that they were receiving over there. He's like, you sent a bunch of disgruntled customers to me that from my competitor. He's like, keep sending them. And I was like, what? And I was like, but their intent, they're already customers of this prospect. He goes, I don't care. I'm going to have the sales team field these types of inquiries as a soft sales pitch, sort of oh, you've reached the wrong place, but we offer the same thing. We're their competitor. We don't typically have those same problems. We'll offer you a discount if you'd like to migrate over. And so I was like, that's brilliant. But so silver lining, but moral of the story is please be very diligent in a broad match.
So one thing I noticed is, as my career was progressing and accounts got more complex, is I would have clients coming and say, hey, you guys are doing this incorrectly, or this is not right, or you guys promised this and I was expecting something else. And I would freeze in some of those cases because I didn't know the exact answer. It's very difficult to go from being the day-to-day person that implements, has all the communication back and forth with the client, to now the person representing a team that is doing a wonderful, fantastic job.
Yeah.
Especially when they come very hard at you.
Yeah.
That was very difficult for me.
Yeah.
And I encountered that more than once, where I would freeze in a moment. What I've learned is, with a lot of coaching from a lot of people, who was my beautiful manager for years, Emily Kanov, to more senior people like a Jesse Eisenberg here at Tenuity. How do you protect your team? Because you know that they're doing the job.
Yeah.
And sometimes clients are just pressuring you. That could be
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Two, they have a piece of the story, but they don't have the full puzzle.
Yeah.
Yes, we told you we're going to achieve this, but then 1,000 other things change. So which ones can you come up with? One thing that also helped me a lot in my career is listening to what your rebuttal is to the situation, and buy yourself some time. Can you explain me more about that? Can you double that on that, so you can get that time that you need to put your thoughts together and actually spit back an answer?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just need a second to collect what you are hearing and actually be able to provide something back.
Yeah.
That was something also, as a person that English is not my first language. No, I don't think in Spanish, but I need like an extra second to connect my Spanish brain with the situation, with the risk, with what I know, with. I just need to buy myself some time. So how do I buy myself time to then be able to provide an eloquent response back?
I set up value track parameters, and I did a copy paste mistake. Right. So instead of after the URL, instead of starting with a question mark, I accidentally put an ampersand.
Oh, okay.
Is that what you call it?
Yes.
Yeah. So then, as a result, all traffic from that campaign got directed to 404 pages for a couple of days. So that actually amounted to, I think, K in wasted ad spend.
Something that's happened with a couple clients at AdSquire is, whenever we start working with somebody, like, pretty quickly we establish trust with that client because we do a good job and we start like getting them a ton of relevant leads, and they're really happy. And it's weird, like in legal, a lot of them like have been screwed over before by previous agencies who like promised the world and then like didn't deliver. So when they work with us, they're like super happy. They're like, okay, great. We found somebody who can like actually do this thing that we wanted. And pretty quickly, then they'll like start forwarding me all of these emails that they get. And I'm sure you get them too. It's like, there's so many weird scams in digital marketing. So they'll like forward me these kind of like scam emails and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or like, what are you know, like, should we do this? And I have to like continuously be like, oh no, that's a scam. Don't do that. Right. And so then they'll keep doing it. And like eventually like one of us kind of like gets tired of hearing it, and I'll like let them go do the thing that they want to do.
Okay.
And that often like backfires. But I just get so tired of being like, nope, it's another scam. It's another scam.
Yeah.
So one specific instance of this is that happened. You know, we established trust. He would send me all these emails. Something I like tell people a lot, I don't know if you do this, is like they all get these emails from like just a weird Gmail. And I'm like, look, if you're getting a weird Gmail email, like 9.5 times out of 10, it's a scam. Like there's no company associated. So I'll give them like tips on like, hey, these are some things to look out for. But again, then they still continue to send me like those Gmail emails. Anyway, this specific example is, we had this client. We did amazing for him. He like bought a new office with like all the business we got him, like bought a building like in Los Angeles. And like we really just like slayed it for this law firm. He wanted to SEO, and we really don't like provide SEO. We focus on paid search, right?
Sure.
But we can do SEO. So like for a little bit, like we would do like some free SEO work for him. And like that really slayed for him. Like he wanted to like be number one for this like weird, like obscure search term. And we did it like really quickly.
Nice.
And so he like just kept asking for SEO stuff. We would do a little bit of it, and then like we would then like eventually it just got to be like too much. And I was like, hey, we're not really doing SEO. We really have to focus on like on PPC, and you know, we're like not getting paid to do SEO. But he like wouldn't let it go. And so like then he started like looking at SEO agencies, and pick this one. And like, it's not like this was a scam per se, but like, I just knew that this agency like was not like didn't provide good results. Like I'd
Sure.
heard lots of stories. I knew previous clients that worked there.
Right.
Nobody had a good experience.
Right.
And so he signed up with them for SEO.
Okay.
And then they were like, oh, and we also do PPC. And then he left us and all of his results tanked and like everything went to crap and he fired them and like now is like back in the mix of doing just like round robins of awful agencies.
I've always worked agency side. At the time I was working in this agency, I was the only person doing PPC. The team around me was doing SEO, content, etc. So I was the only one responsible for the campaigns. And the client was lead gen B2B and advertising in the UK mainly, but also in Europe. And we were running this activity in English, but also targeting in Europe. So, and specifically this campaign I want to talk about was meant to target the countries in Southern Europe, but with English keywords and ad copies and landing page, etc. So I wasn't expected huge volumes because I'm Italian. I know people in Southern Europe usually tend to search in their own language and click ad and search results in their own language because we don't have that familiarity with English. So anyway, launched this campaign. It was basically just a replica of the UK campaigns, but with a different targeting. I launched the campaigns, it goes well, keep checking it, run the usual SQRs. Nothing really strikes me as wrong. We had a lot of negative keywords already from the other campaigns. It was in English, and the performance was actually really good. Low CPL, high conversion rate. I was like, and high volumes. I was like, oh, surprisingly, I didn't expect that. So then at the beginning of the following month, when I went to do the monthly report, I just wanted to check which countries within Southern Europe was the best performing, etc. And when I click on the location targeting report, I realized that I didn't add any countries. And I'm not saying I left the default people interested in or in option in the location. I literally didn't add any targeting, which meant that it was targeting the whole word. Because if you don't add anything, it will just target the whole word. So the list of countries I was seeing, it was like the likes of APAC, countries in APAC, US, South America. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, so that was a thing that in hindsight we should never allow the client to have us manage the account without doing a proper onboarding. So that's basically the biggest mistake that we make, or the root cause of all this. That was a thing that in hindsight we should never allow the client to have us manage the account without doing a proper onboarding. So that's basically the biggest mistake that we make, or the root cause of all this.
So if someone has just found this kind of mistake as well, and realized that they've been ignoring Google for a while, maybe for a while it was for good reason, but that one of those emails was actually some important information about an update they should have made, and now they're like panicked. What's your advice to them? Emails was actually some important information about an update they should have made, and now they're like, oh, panicked. What's your advice to them? As someone who has gone through that experience, what's your advice?
So first take a deep breath and then try to fix it as quickly as possible. Make sure that you start spending again if smart bidding has been scaling down. Like I mentioned, just switch to manual bid for a while. Fix the conversion tracking, and in the process, be sure to always stay, get in touch with the client first, explain the situation, make sure that the client is aligned, then fix it. And once everything is up and running, perform the root cause analysis. Ask yourself, why did this happen? Ask it 5-6 times. Why did that happen? Okay, so why did that happen? And then once you have the root cause, I like to write down a post-mortem, something from the software development world, where if software gets broken, the good developers, they always write a post-mortem explaining what has happened, what they've learned from it, and they share it with the team. And I like to write it even for myself, so that in the future, I can always go back to it,
Yeah.
which helps me stay on track by fixing similar things.
Well, I would say just own it. Own your mistakes. Be accountable for them. Do not try to hide it, because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, maybe no one would have found out, but what if they did? So it's always better to be honest. That's my approach in life and at work. So yeah, just own it. And
When you realize that you have made a mistake or someone on your team has made a mistake, the first thing you have to do is stop the hemorrhaging or the bleeding or whatever's happening. Don't wait for it to turn around. Don't think the algorithm's going to figure it out. Pause whatever is the problem.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
immediately call the client and
Yeah.
have a conversation. Don't send an email. Don't.
Okay. Yeah.
Call and have a conversation, especially if it's a big doozy. And we're talking, thousands and thousands of dollars in mistake, a lost budget, or a lost opportunity. So call the client, own up. You've got to own up. You're going to be tempted to mitigate responsibility for the mistake, to blame it on something else or someone else. But don't. Take ownership. This was your account. Whether you are leading a team for the account or you are working on the account as a contributor, own the mistake. And then what you want to do is explain to the client why it happened, and then explain to the client what you are going to do to remedy or fix it, okay? And that could look like a number of different things. Sometimes part of the situation is salvageable, like I just mentioned with my client, mistake that happened all those years ago. Sometimes it's not, right? And sometimes you have to have the tough conversation of, here are the things that we now have in place so this will never happen again. And here's how we can either lessen the damage or stop it from continuing to happen.
Yeah.
So immediate ownership, don't deflect responsibility, and always propose that solution and like next step.
First of all, don't think you're the only person in the world that's ever done that. There's plenty of people that have made that mistake, and those people have still gone on to have great careers. Very smart people. It is always good to take ownership and accountability. Like don't try and make excuses or pass it off.
Honestly, was appreciative of me taking that step to inform them, because had they found out and, what is this, Boris? Oh yeah, this is when I did this and that, but I never told you.
Yeah.
That would have been a bigger issue.
Yeah.
But if you make an honest mistake, but you at least you stand up to it, stand up for it and say, did this mistake.
It's one big mistake that you see, or maybe even some things that people share on their LinkedIn, and people always like to share like the stuff that they're doing in terms of like their automation or AI. What's a big mistake that you see that people are still making in 2025 that really shocks you, that you feel that we should stop doing this?
One of the things that can go wrong during Black Friday, and I've seen go wrong many times in the past years, is that on Black Friday, Google will try to spend a lot of money because there are a lot of people searching for mostly products. Let's just say e-com, and then the campaigns are limited by budget, so you're missing out on an opportunity.
Yes.
So even though they have this over delivery thing, so let's say you have a daily budget of $1,000, Google is allowed to spend twice that amount on a single day. But it's Black Friday, people go crazy, and if you have good offers, then, and you for some reason you're bidding high, then you might be spending five times as much. So again, I use scripts for that, but so to prevent that mistake, be sure to monitor the spend during days like this. And if the spend is at, let's say, 80% of 90% of your daily budget, you want to be in the know so that you can decide whether or not you want to increase the spend. So having a limited budget on days like Black Friday is a mistake.
I think from memory, it was miscommunication. I think I maybe thought it was 22, and it wasn't. It was 20. And, so from memory, I think I misunderstood, and then I think the way it happened was I checked the first day of the next month and noticed that actually the comms were that it was 20, not 22, and that was never like spend. So my misunderstanding on the budget amount, which is not good. The things that come to mind, I don't know if they're things like a claim that nobody's talking about, but what comes to mind is first of all, like talking about AI and sort of prophesizing what AI is going to do in a certain industry when either you're not really in that industry or you're not using it like to a large extent within that industry.
Yeah.
So I think, and what I notice is the people who are really using this stuff, whether it's the LLMs, whether it's vibe coding or whatever it is, the people who are in their industry doing this stuff aren't talking about AI like it's going to replace everything. Like they're seeing the limits of the tools, they're understanding the opportunities, they're quantifying what's possible and what's not possible, and that just makes the whole conversation less emotional. AI is going to take everything to more. Here's what it can do. Here's what it can't do. So I think anybody that talks about AI replacing everything or even just a large part.
So I was like really excited to start the job, and I got in there and I quickly realized like nobody had any idea what they were doing at all. And again, it's like a super big agency, like really big agency. The paid search director was like a paid social person, and I got 20 accounts to manage. And I audited them, and I was just like, oh my God, like I was like, my mind was blown at how incredibly awful they were.
Yeah.
And basically what they were doing was like, everybody had 20 accounts, and like I think there was like a high degree of turnover in like PPC managers, and then it would just be the next person came in and did a couple bid adjustments and wrote some fluffy reports, and it was just kind of like business as usual. Anyway, I noticed all these things wrong, like fundamentally wise, like nobody knew the fundamentals of PPC. And so I wrote up like audit notes on all 20 of my accounts, and I was like, hey, look, like everything is wrong here with these accounts. Like this is what you have to do to fix them. And they were like, oh, okay, great, but you can't fix them because these have been like accounts that have been with us for 10 years. And so like you have to kind of just leave them and like maybe we can fix them over time.
Yeah.
Right. And I just couldn't do it. So I fixed them all.
Oh God. Cowboy move. Cowboy just like we're doing that. We're doing this.
Immediately, like they started producing like gangbusters. So then all of the clients that like were my accounts started emailing me. This one like enormous agency or this one like enormous car dealer down here.
Yeah, brand. Yeah.
Wanted to set up a meeting and come in and meet me, right? And all these people were sending me emails like, "Oh my God, like digital is through the roof." And then they were like, "We're so happy and excited, but like why?" Right? And so like that was the F up. Was then I quickly was let go in how like accounts were managed like across the organization.
Yeah.
So like every account manager did something different, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then these accounts just kind of kept getting past everybody.
Yeah.
So again, all F ups definitely lead to reflection and like for you to like do something better because you learn a lesson.
Yeah.
So with AdSquire, again, like if you're running an agency, there's got to be a way that you run accounts. You know what I mean? And so again, like when I built AdSquire, that was something that was like important and I took into consideration. I trained the team on how I run accounts, and that's how we run accounts, everybody on the team. So like we're all aligned, we're all managing them the exact same way. And I think that's like another like really important lesson that I took away from one of these F ups was like, there's got to be a way that the agency does it. It can't just be kind of everybody wild west doing what they want to accounts.
Like the majority of the month had passed when we caught it.
Yeah. So what's your big lesson from that one?
I
What
mean,
would you advise on ways to avoid things like that?
I mean, I was just like looking back, I'm like, how is that me doing that? Because like it's so weird that I just felt no accountability for like the management of it. Like if I remember right, I didn't report directly to the client. I was just like doing this back end stuff, and they had like a different like client manager that reported. I think I just felt too removed from the process, and so it was just like, no, I'll help out or whatever. But like I would never ever do that. You know what I mean? Like that's and what they did is they're like, all right, well, we need to manage this better, because to their point, I mean, they also dropped the ball, right? They didn't have they didn't have anyone actually on their team that was able to do it, which is why they're subcontracting this out. They didn't do any sort of check-ins or anything, so they should have been a lot more accountable too. I mean, both of us, like, I'm not trying to excuse what I did at all, but like, when you subcontract with someone, you have to have a check-in at some point, like that needs to be going on. So then they got to be like really particular with, okay, here's our new, like, guardrails, and like every single week we had to like say, here's how many impressions it got, here's how many clicks, just so they could like make sure something was running. So I mean, and fair enough, like it was a little overkill, but they didn't know how to do anything else, and so that's what, because they didn't know paid search, which is again why they had to outsource it. So I was like reporting them all these dumb numbers, like with weekly calls and stuff. But yeah, it was.
Those are the days. Those are the days early in your career when you're literally like, you wish you were. It's not just about the paid search person's knowledge. It's about the people managing it and knowing how paid search works with other channels and knowing what they should be hearing from it. It's almost how I even see how we need to be working with AI, about how if you don't understand what good quality information is, AI can give you any bunch of nonsense, and you just be like, well, it's AI, so yay, copy and paste. And you've got to be careful not to be the kind of person that does that. So,
when we sit down and really ask tough questions about why the performance isn't up to par, or, what's happening here, sometimes I think the biggest thing that gets under my skin is when I'm dealing with a product or service that has a much longer attribution window than is set up in the account. So for example, if you're a very high ticket item, or you have a service that requires a lengthy sales process, right? So, they're not clicking on an ad and making a decision to act right there. It's usually weeks, sometimes months, right? And the attribution window is set up to 7 days in the account, or even like 15 days or 30 days. And really it should be much longer than that. And what ends up happening is the reason why it's such a pet peeve of mine is I observe what happens in the client teams and the client dynamic. There's this never ending cycle of frustration. The client perceives that you are not getting the leads right as quickly as they need to. The algorithm in the client team that's supporting the account is thinking, oh my gosh, if we could just have a longer attribution window, we'd probably have enough data to feed the algorithm, in mass. So I would say attribution window, make sure it's aligned with how your business actually sees sales come in. Yeah. So as I mentioned before, big fan of AI. My personal professional, goal is to kind of really be on the forefront of that for all of my clients coming in. So I highly recommend everyone tap into the bidding strategies that rely on AI and and certain parts of how Google Ads settings are related to that. But I want you to make sure that you don't enter into those situations before you have the right setup. So, with AI comes a great responsibility as a search marketer, because we often assume, oh, this is going to get exactly what I want. It's supposed to be smarter and more intelligent than the other settings or bidding strategies. But really what ends up happening is to be successful in this, you need the correct and right first party data to feed it. You need to understand how much conversion data that gets filtered into a campaign that you need for that bidding strategy to be successful. And you need to give it the right inputs, right? And so what I'm talking about with inputs is, if you have a bidding strategy that would benefit from a target on it, like a CPA or a ROAS related one, give it the right target related to your business. Understand how you can use that to scale up or down. And then secondly, remember my broad match story in the beginning? AI is awesome. AI is awesome, but you've got to give it constraints and parameters. So if you're running broad match keywords, pay attention to where, and you're running, for example, AI Max for search, pay attention to the landing pages it's choosing. Add exclusions if necessary. Give it a little bit more direction if it needs it. And keep in mind, folks, that a lot of the signals Google uses are based on you. right? Based on your landing pages, based on the way you've structured your campaigns, and so forth. So be on top of that as well, because really, when you have the right ingredients for the recipe, it's phenomenal.
I took that to like my next interview to speak up to that, like off the bat. Hey, I'm not this guy that's just going to do fluffy reports and sit back. I'm the kind of guy that like points out problems and actively tries to solve them.
One thing I always like to ask my team before I talk to a client too is, where are we failing?
Yeah.
Because I rather hear it first on my because nobody's perfect and we make mistakes, or sometimes we test something that we thought it was going to work and it doesn't. It happens, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's called an experiment, because we're gonna quote unquote play around and figure it out. We're going with the best intentions, but it doesn't always pan out. The one that I hate the most, when I see it, it makes me cringe, is when I see our CPCs are super high. CPCs, CPMs on B2B are super high in general.
Yeah.
When I see a campaign that it's a good campaign and then the budget is so low, they get 2 clicks a day. It makes me so furious.
Wow.
It doesn't matter if it's LinkedIn, Microsoft, Google. It doesn't matter which one it is. If you're getting 2-4 clicks a day, you're not going to get a conversion. I don't care what you are doing anywhere else.
So like the biggest ones that I see consistently, like in audits and stuff, are the usual suspects, and like you know them. It's like it's like search partners enabled.
Honestly, your settings.
Like I hate those ones. Like advanced location settings is always one that like a lot of people miss. Again, and they're like choices that are based on strategy and budget. So it's not always like a wrong thing. If you have a really big budget and you want to have like in or interested in, that's fine, right? It's all budget dependent, but those are like kind of the biggest usual suspects that I see.
Yeah.
In terms of AI, I would say those ones go like unnoticed a lot, to be honest with you. In my opinion, again, it's another settings thing with the AI stuff. It's like the automated assets and auto apply recommendations, things like these are the big ones that like are silent killers because they're changing a lot of stuff in your Google Ads count. And these, they're so hidden, those two settings, that nobody knows where they are. So like again, that's another big one with the AI error.
I actually have a team member, his name's Matt Davini, wonderful guy. He came to me with, he created through AI Studio, actually a thing that connects to Google Ads, and it will do an audit for you. And we will give you the tables with data. And you know, people are doing things. Simon Paulton at Tenuity, he created a Slack group for people when he's trying to figure, and he did this wonderful thing. He's like, this is not probably applicable to work, but I learned you can do this. And he posted his children, I don't know, let's call it soccer or baseball, I think it was, dates and times that they have practiced. You can put it into Gemini and tell it to add to, it was a PDF, and to add it into your calendar. I didn't know you could do that. So the ways people are actually using and experimenting with AI is changing. So if you're just using it for asking basic questions, there's so much more you can do with it.